My father always acted like fairness was a luxury he couldn't afford to give equally. Even when I was a child, I noticed the difference in the way he treated me and my brother, Daniel. Daniel was the king of the house, the golden boy who could do no wrong, the one my father proudly introduced to his colleagues. Me, I was the shadow, the afterthought, the backup option no one wanted or needed. But nothing prepared me for the day I discovered the truth about the trust fund. The day started out ordinary. I was home from college for the weekend, sitting in the kitchen with a cup of coffee, trying to finish a research paper. My father walked in wearing his usual expensive suit, looking like a man who believed the world existed for his personal convenience. He barely nodded at me before opening his briefcase and pulling out a thick stack of documents. He sat at the head of the table and began sorting through them with the kind of importance only he could give to paperwork. I didn't pay much attention at first, until I saw my name printed on one of the folders. Actually, it wasn't my name. It was Daniel's. Trust fund agreement, beneficiary, Daniel Westwood. My stomach tightened. I didn't know what it was about, but I knew it wasn't something small. My father guarded financial matters like secrets of national importance. For something to be printed and lying openly meant it was huge. I tried not to stare, but I couldn't help it. Finally, he looked up and caught my eye. What? He said bluntly. What's that? I asked quietly. He hesitated for a moment, visibly debating whether to tell me, but then he smirked. Your brother's trust fund, he said with casual pride. I've created a financial foundation for his future. Smart planning. I swallowed. His trust fund. Only his. Yes, he said coldly, as if the answer should have been obvious. He's the one carrying the family name forward. He'll take over my company someday. He needs stability, structure. And me? I asked, my voice barely steady. My father shrugged. You're independent. You don't need the same support. You'll manage. You always do. I felt like I had been slapped. My entire life, I had done everything right. Straight A's, scholarships, part-time jobs. I cooked dinners when mom was sick. I helped Daniel with his homework. I supported dad's projects without ever being acknowledged. And somehow, the reward for all of that was nothing. No support, no trust, no consideration. Daniel walked into the kitchen at that moment, hair messy, wearing expensive clothes my father bought him. He grabbed a bowl of cereal and laughed when he saw the documents on the table. Oh, did Dad tell you? I'm officially set for life. He shook the papers playfully. $3 million in assets. And that's only the beginning. I stared at him, numb. $3 million. For a brother who didn't even work, who dropped out of college twice, who spent his nights partying and sleeping all day. My father didn't even try to hide his pride. He has potential, he said. He has ambition. He has irresponsibility, I said quietly. And you're rewarding it. My father's expression hardened. Watch your tone. That was always his warning, one sentence, and I knew the conversation was over. Except this time, I didn't back down. Something inside me cracked open. A mix of anger, exhaustion, and clarity spilled out. You created a trust fund worth millions for someone who doesn't care about anything, I said. Not even for me. Not even a small fund. He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. You are 24 years old. If you haven't built something for yourself by now, that's on you. I'm not your bank. And I'm not going to compensate for your lack of achievements. My breath caught. Lack of achievements. I put myself through college. I had top grades. I worked 2 jobs. I was the only reason this house remained functioning some days. But none of that mattered. Not to him. Not ever. Daniel snorted. Don't take it personally. Not everyone's meant to be successful. The room fell silent. I packed my bag and walked out before I could explode. I needed air, space, something to stop me from crumbling. As I walked through the driveway, I saw Dad's new car, a luxury model he bought to celebrate Daniel's future. And suddenly, I knew. I couldn't stay. I couldn't be part of a family where I was invisible unless they needed something from me. That night, I stayed at a friend's place. I didn't tell her everything, but I said enough for her to worry. You can't keep letting them treat you this way, she said gently. You deserve better. I knew she was right. But leaving wasn't easy. They depended on me more than they admitted. I cooked. I cleaned. I handled the bills. I kept the house running. But they still treated me like I owed them my life. The next morning, something changed. I received an email from my landlord. Rent was due in 5 days. I checked my bank account. I had enough saved, but barely. My father promised he would help with tuition, but he never followed through. I had covered everything myself. And now I was supposed to keep helping them after they blatantly told me I wasn't worth investment. No, I made a decision then. I would walk away. Completely. Permanently. And I wouldn't leave quietly. If they wanted Daniel to have the world handed to him, fine. Let them hand him everything, including the bills they had never bothered to notice I paid. Electricity, my account, internet, my card, groceries, mostly me, house maintenance, me, the monthly property tax reminder, usually me. If I removed myself, the financial skeleton holding their world together would collapse in seconds. That night, I returned home silently and gathered every bill, every receipt, every account linked to my name. I spent hours switching everything out of my bank information, canceling autopay, removing my cards. They wanted to ignore me. Let them live without me. And the next morning, when I packed my suitcase for good, I realized something profound. This wasn't revenge. It was freedom. But the revenge part came later, much later, when the bills started pouring in like a flood they never expected. I didn't tell them I was leaving. I didn't owe them that. They had made it painfully clear that my place in the family was conditional on how useful I was. So I walked out before sunrise with 2 suitcases, a backpack, and enough money to survive for a month if I was careful. The air was cold, and the sky was still dark, but for the first time in years, I felt something like relief. No one barking orders. No chores waiting for me. No Daniel demanding favors like he was royalty. I took a deep breath and got into the cab waiting at the curb. I found a small rented studio apartment the same day, nothing fancy, but safe and quiet. The kind of place where no one expected anything from me. I spent the first night sitting on the bare floor, staring at the empty room. It wasn't much, but it was mine. My space. My freedom. I cooked instant noodles for dinner and realized it was the first meal I made for myself alone without anyone yelling for extras or complaining about what I cooked. The next morning, I woke up to a string of missed calls from Mom. She left multiple voicemails, her tone growing increasingly frustrated. Where are you? There are chores to be done. The house is a mess. Your father found the electric bill unpaid. Internet is down. Daniel needs help with his car paperwork. Call back immediately. I stared at the phone and felt a strange mix of anger and satisfaction. They didn't ask if I was okay or where I had gone. Only what they needed. No surprise. I didn't call back. Around noon, another voicemail arrived. This time, my father spoke. We need to talk about your responsibilities. You can't just leave and expect us to handle everything. Daniel's trust fund paperwork needs organizing. I need the tax documents. Come home. Come home. Like I was a servant who had wandered off. I put the phone face down and continued applying for jobs. I had experience in administration, accounting, and customer service thanks to all the unpaid work I had done at home. Within a week, I secured a job at a small marketing firm as an assistant. The pay wasn't extraordinary, but it was enough to support myself. The boss was strict but fair. He looked at me like a person, not like an appliance. I settled into a rhythm quickly. Work, home, simple meals, quiet evenings. I didn't realize how exhausted I had been until my new routine felt like rest. But peace doesn't last long when your family is used to controlling you. One evening, after a long day at work, I opened my phone to find 57 messages. 57. Mom was frantic. Your father is furious. Bills are overdue. We didn't realize how many accounts were in your name. The internet won't reconnect until someone pays. Daniel's gym membership was cancelled. Do you know how embarrassing that is? Your father wants you home now. I laughed. Actually laughed. It felt good. They were so used to me quietly carrying the entire household that the moment I stepped away, their entire world collapsed. But that was only the beginning. 2 days later, my father showed up at my workplace. I saw him through the glass door as he marched toward the receptionist like he owned the place. My stomach twisted, not from fear, but from anger. I excused myself and stepped outside to meet him before he caused a scene. What are you doing here? I asked sharply. He looked me over as if disappointed in my new life. We need to talk, he said. You left us in a terrible situation. Bills unpaid. Accounts linked to your name. You created a mess. I didn't create anything, I said calmly. I just stopped cleaning your mess. His jaw clenched. You're being childish. Come home. No, I said. He blinked, stunned by the single word. I had never told him no before. You're being dramatic, he said. You are part of this family. You have duties. Not without respect, I replied. Not without effort from your side. Not while you treat Daniel like royalty and me like a maid. He deserves the trust fund, he snapped. He is my legacy. You, he hesitated, searching for words. You're capable. You can build your own life. And I said simply. Without you. His face reddened. This is about money, isn't it? You're upset about the trust fund. No, I said. This is about dignity. You're being ungrateful, he scolded. You're abandoning your family. I'm leaving toxicity. There's a difference. For the first time, he had no immediate comeback. He stared at me, breathing hard, as if unable to process the shift in power. He had controlled me my whole life. Now I wasn't under his roof or his rules. He couldn't take away something he never gave me. Finally, he said, if you walk away, don't expect us to come running when you fail. I'm not failing, I whispered. I'm finally living. He left angry and humiliated. And I returned to work feeling lighter. Over the next few weeks, the calls slowed down but didn't stop. Mom sent guilt messages. Daniel sent insults. Dad sent commands. I blocked all of them. If they wanted someone to cook, clean, organize, pay bills, and manage the household, they could do it themselves. I spent 24 years doing more than my share. One night, Daniel showed up at my apartment building. He banged on the door until I opened it. He shoved a stack of unpaid bills in my face. Fix this, he demanded. No, I replied and shut the door. His shocked voice echoed through the hallway. You'll regret this. But I didn't. As the weeks turned into months, I built a new life, a better life. My job promoted me. I bought furniture for my apartment. I made friends. I learned what peace felt like. Meanwhile, my family struggled. They weren't used to responsibility. Dad's temper and Daniel's laziness clashed constantly. Mom cried on voicemails about how the household is falling apart. And all of it happened because I finally let people face the consequences of their choices. But my real revenge came later, when something happened that none of them expected. The trust fund that was created exclusively for Daniel became the very thing that shattered their perfect illusion of control. And they came crawling back, not for love, but for help. When Amelia disappeared without a trace, the family who once controlled every part of her life found themselves trapped in their own chaos. Her parents called her repeatedly until her number stopped working. Her golden sister, Serena, who had always basked in attention and gifts, now sat in silence, realizing that the person who had always stood beside her, despite being mistreated, had finally vanished. But Amelia didn't go far. She built a new life under a new name, in a small town 3 hours away. She bought a peaceful little house, planted a small garden, and learned to breathe again. Every morning she walked outside, looked at her own front door, and felt freedom like she had never known in that house she once called home. She kept the remaining money hidden carefully in a secure account, using only what she needed and saving the rest for a future she would build on her terms. 6 months passed, and Amelia transformed herself. She cut her hair, changed her phone number, joined a local art class, and even started volunteering at an animal rescue center. She smiled more. She slept without fear. She no longer flinched when she heard footsteps behind her. But one evening, as she was finishing dinner, she received a message from an unknown number. Amelia, please. We need you. Come home. She froze. The message came from her mother's phone. She blocked it instantly, but more began to arrive from other numbers. From her father. From her sister. From neighbors. From distant relatives. Your parents are in trouble. Serena has made a mess. They need you. Amelia deleted the messages one by one. For the first time, she felt nothing, not anger, not guilt, not sadness. Just clarity. Whatever had happened was no longer her responsibility. 2 weeks later she learned the truth. Serena had fallen into debt, heavy debt. With no savings of her own and a lifestyle she couldn't maintain, she borrowed money from people she shouldn't have. Her parents, desperate to protect their favorite daughter, tried to pay off some of it but realized they had no way to manage the rest. And that was when they remembered the daughter they had pushed away for money, the daughter who had disappeared with a fortune they believed belonged to them. Serena posted publicly online, accusing Amelia of abandoning her family. She expected sympathy, but instead the internet tore her apart. Strangers wrote comments saying Amelia had every right to disappear. People asked why Serena felt entitled to money she never earned. Videos spread. Discussions grew. The truth of their family dynamic became entertainment for millions. But Amelia stayed silent. She watched from a distance, not out of pleasure but out of disbelief that the world finally saw what she had lived through for years. One afternoon, while Amelia was helping clean kennels at the animal shelter, a car pulled up outside. Her heart dropped when she recognized the license plate. It was her father's. She stood inside the building, hidden, watching him pacing outside and calling her name, not angrily, but desperately. She didn't move. She didn't answer. After 20 minutes, he left, and Amelia sank to the floor, shaking, not in fear, but in realization. She finally understood how deeply she had changed. The old Amelia would have run outside, trying to help, even if it meant giving everything she had. The new Amelia knew better. That evening she wrote a long letter, not to send but to close a chapter. She wrote about every night she cried alone, every insult she endured, every time they chose Serena over her, every moment they made her feel like she owed them something just for existing. When she finished, she folded the letter and placed it in a box labeled, Past. A month later, Amelia stood on the hill behind her new home, watching the sunset, her dog sitting beside her. She had just opened her own small art shop in town, selling handmade pieces and custom work. Customers loved her warm energy. Friends invited her to gatherings. She built a life filled with respect, not demand. As the breeze brushed her face, she realized she hadn't thought of her family in weeks. Not out of bitterness, but because freedom had finally replaced the space they once occupied. Somewhere far away, the people who once controlled her were facing the consequences of their own choices. But Amelia didn't wish them harm. She simply wished them distance. She whispered to herself, I didn't vanish. I found myself. And for the first time in her life, she felt truly, completely whole.